Hello DevOps friends, welcome to my office hour. I'm Jochen, the Monospace mentor, and during my office hour I answer your questions about DevOps, SRE, system administration, which is important, programming, all kinds of stuff in this area. And if you'd like to ask a question, please go to mspc.sh/officehour, which is where we can collect all questions. You can even upvote other people's questions if you like them, and I can get them on screen easily, so that not only is it easier for me to answer your question, it's also easier for people who just joined the channel to have some context of what I'm talking about. And so this would help me greatly. Rachel, hello! How you doing? So nice of you to drop in. Fellow Ruby coder, Jailcodes, hey, how you doing? Hope you're doing great. And yeah, so Rachel, if you have any questions about Linux or other stuff like that you never dared to ask, this is the place, this is the time. So yeah, I'm doing great, having a great Friday so far, and looking forward to the stream as well, because it's always exciting. It's on one hand, I don't have to prepare anything except for getting all kinds of random questions. On the other hand, of course, there are so many great questions that I get asked on this office hour that even I get something to think about and to learn even. And so yeah, this is always fun. Sometimes I don't do any live coding streams because I might not have the energy, I might not have the time, but I really miss my office hours when I don't get to do them, and thankfully, fortunately, today I get to do one. So yeah. Again, if you'd like to ask a question, it's the easiest way if you ask it at mspc.sh/officehour. My Q&A platform over there is well suited to collect questions. I can get them on screen. I should also have it open so I can see when people actually ask questions. Wouldn't that be helpful? Let me catch up with that. On the other hand, I think I do have it open already. I'm more organized than I give myself credit for. So yeah, if there aren't any questions, I can of course talk about stuff that I'm occupied with at the moment, which is mostly, apart from my day job, my Linux course. I am going to start a free Linux administration course here on my live streaming channels, and we're going to start next Thursday night, 6 p.m. Dublin time, which is a little bit earlier over in the US. If you enter the command !Linux course, you'll get all the details. You get a link to my webpage where you get all the details, the starting time in your time zone, and also where you can sign up. As I said, it's free, so you can sign up for free. And we'll do this on a weekly basis here live on my channel, where I'm going to give you a course in basic Linux system administration, starting from installing Linux to process management, user management, file systems, monitoring, backup, all the important stuff that you need to get deeper into system administration. And it gives you a nice foundation to get a grip on Linux, especially if you'd like to go into DevOps, into SRE. I had planned to start a cohort-based course this month. Unfortunately, we didn't get enough people together, so I decided, well, I always wanted to do this live on stream anyway, so let's go ahead and do exactly that. Next Thursday, we're going to start. Enter !Linux course to get all the details. But that's just oh, hi, how you doing? Welcome. People are joining on all channels, both Twitch and YouTube and my own cast channel at live.monospacementor.com. Hi, how you doing? Are you here to remind me of the Vim Carnival blog post that I've promised? I'm on it. Yeah, so Hyde is doing a Vim Carnival where people simply write about how they use Vim. And Hyde, feel free to post about the details and where people can maybe sign up if they'd like to do so. Nerd Girl, hello, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. Hyde says, how was the summer? Summer was good. Summer here in Ireland was really nice. Great weather. And by great weather, I mean it was warm but not too hot. And I spent a few weeks in Germany, partly working, partly visiting family. And that was great as well. Even though I didn't get to go swimming, even though there were temperatures at 30 degrees and higher, so I should probably have joined my family in going to the public pool or to a lake. Unfortunately, it didn't come together. I didn't have the energy, or I was busy doing work. So yeah, it was a part holiday, part vacation, you could say. And yeah, so it was good. It was okay. And I just posted the URL for the Vim Carnival. It's over at their website, lazybea.rs. And there it's vim-carnival-sept-2025. I'm just repeating the URL because it's not visible on screen. It's only visible in the Owncast chat at the moment. But if you go to lazybea.rs, you should find the article there. Indrak joining us as well, long-time member of our community. How are you doing? This is, of course, my office hour, where I love to chat with you people, but especially I'm here to answer your questions. And if you have any, go to mspc.sh/officehour and ask your questions there. I'll do my best to answer them. Let's see if there are any questions up there yet. Nope. So we'll keep chatting for a little bit longer. So Rachel, if you're still there, have you planned a stream for later today? And maybe to all of you, what is it you're doing this nice Friday at the moment? Are you procrastinating from work? Are you already preparing for the weekend? Oh, Thursdays. Okay, okay. Can highly recommend Rachel's channel, which is Chael Codes over on Twitch. Definitely great stuff for Ruby coders and beyond. Rachel says, I've got a talk coming up at XO Ruby Atlanta So I'm procrastinating on prepping for that. It's pre-breakfast time over here. Well, no one expects you to do work before breakfast. Who would even start work before breakfast? That's preposterous. I don't even start work after breakfast. But yeah, I can feel you. It's always a challenge to get going with a conference talk. What is the talk going to be about? That's something I should focus on more, giving conference talks again. My first conference talk was in 1999 at a Linux conference. I gave a talk about the freshly released PHP 3.0. And since then I've got to talk at many conferences, Ruby related, Drupal related, Linux related, all kinds of stuff. DevOps related, of course. So Rachel is starting to populate the board, saying, I'm going to ask silly questions until someone comes in with a serious breakfast. Okay. A serious question. So you basically are forcing us to submit serious questions just to stop the flow of questions like... What does AWS eat for breakfast? Well, AWS is a cloud platform, so I reckon it'll just have a cup of raindrops. I know joining us as well. Hello! So nice to see all regulars popping in bit by bit. Hope you're having a great Friday. So yeah, that's at least how it works. You go to mspc.sh/officehour, post your question there, and I'm going to try my best to answer it, even if it is what does a cloud platform have for breakfast. And questions can be about all kinds of DevOps related questions, can be system administration, can also veer into programming, because at least SRE, site reliability engineering, is a lot about coding as well. I find that a great definition of SRE is what happens when you give a software engineer an operations role. And so programming is definitely within scope, and you can also ask career questions. I've been in the industry for quite a while. I started programming in 1984, have been using Linux since 1993, have been teaching Linux since 2001, and have done all kinds of stuff over this time frame, from system administration, freelance development, IT management, all kinds of stuff. And for the last 15 years I've been running my own managed hosting business. Yeah, there's a lot of experience that I am happy to share. If you have any questions, mspc.sh/officehour. Old Demon, joining us on YouTube, says, I live in Turkey and started working in the DevOps field. I'm a computer engineering graduate and I'm really having a hard time. What do you recommend me to study outside of the province to build a solid foundation? Python, Ruby, which of these would you recommend? It goes on to say, I have a little bit of Python foundation, but don't know other programming languages. I want to be a very good DevOps person in both fields, and I will do everything I can in this field. That's at least a great attitude to start with and to start from. Congratulations on that. I would say being able to efficiently use a scripting language such as Python or Ruby is definitely something I can highly recommend. I did my even though my first scripting language was basically PHP. I did stuff before that, but the PHP was where I did some serious development. But that, of course, wasn't usable on the infrastructure, on the operation side. So I guess Perl was then the first language that I got into very deeply. I also gave Perl trainings. I even wrote a 200-page training material book on Perl, and that made it quite easy to get into Ruby. I'm still in love with Ruby after 15 years, and that's what I would recommend personally. However, Python is definitely just as capable and might have the advantage that it's also highly used in other areas like, for example, data processing, machine learning and these things. So I would say both of these languages would be a good investment. The advantage is, since they are scripting languages, they are easy and quite efficient to get into and to get a solution out there, even if it's just quick and dirty. Since you also mentioned Golang, that's definitely also an option. I mean, there are more or less two major compiled and statically typed languages out there that are now very well used in the DevOps space, and that's Go and Rust. I think it's mostly either a matter of taste, so what just tickles your fancy more, or if you want to get more deeply into spaces like Kubernetes, for example, then Go would probably be the better choice, because everything in that space is more or less written in Go. So that is definitely something that's also worthwhile. If you have the time to invest, the combination that I would recommend probably would be, but that's definitely subjective, Ruby and Go. I have been looking for a compiled language myself because we need to build a few command line clients for our business. And of course, having something that is statically compiled and easy to deploy, easier to deploy than a Ruby script, is definitely something that we were looking for. I tried a little bit doing stuff in Go, but probably because I'm spoiled by Ruby, I did not quite enjoy it. I mean, I can, of course, easily do something in Go, especially since I also have programmed in similar languages like C or even something like Pascal. I myself am more inclined to go with Crystal, because Crystal is completely based on the Ruby syntax, which makes it terribly easy to get from Ruby to Crystal. But I'm well aware that Crystal is a very niche language, and so my recommendation to you, Old Demon, would be to go with Go and choose one of the two scripting languages that you mentioned yourself. basically based on what looks more interesting to you. And that definitely will help you get ahead in DevOps, because automation is key with today's infrastructure. Even if you have just a few servers that you need to take care of, say 10, automation is already important. If you get to a scale like with my company, we run hundreds of Linux servers. Automation is key, is essential. And of course, if you go to into the hyperscaler or enterprise space, where we are talking about thousands of instances, yeah, of course you need automation there as well. Hyde asked, Rust. I know that Rust is of course very successful at the moment. However, its approach to programming is still foreign to me, to be honest, and that is probably just based on my history with programming. That doesn't say anything about Rust and its capability. I've seen great stuff, and I guess a third of the command line utilities I use on a daily basis is probably written in Rust already. So that's definitely no shade thrown at Rust. It's just not for me at the moment, I would say. Automation does get us to a few of the questions that I saw popping up on the board. Let me see. Okay. I think the first question that we had on the board was, what services do you think are the minimum for a good CI build? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Are you asking about good CI services? Or are you asking about services to run inside a CI system? Maybe you can clarify that. I'll park this question. I'm not going to check it off, but if you can maybe elaborate a little bit on that and ask a follow-up question, that would help me with my answer. An easy question is Terraform or OpenTofu. After all these rug pulls, starting with Elasticsearch and then with Redis and then with Terraform, I'm very suspicious of venture capital-based open source software. And so my answer would be OpenTofu. Because simply for the fact that it's very unlikely that there is a rug pull and that you have to scramble to replace all your infrastructure tooling simply to not break any license terms that have popped up completely unexpectedly. So I think using the alternatives that sprung up, for example, Valkey instead of Redis or OpenTofu instead of Terraform, for me is the way to go. I mean, granted, a part of them have reverted course, and maybe Terraform will be licensed more freely in the free software sense, under the aegis of IBM, but why hold your breath if there is a perfectly fine OpenTofu around? Okay, Rachel clarified services like test coverage, security checks, stuff like that. And since you list test coverage, tests, security checks, linters, I would say all of the above. I mean, I would definitely start with test coverage, accompanied by tests, because yeah, if your test coverage is only 20%, that means you need to add more tests. having tests was a game changer for me, especially in the infrastructure space, where every deployment could mean that only minutes later you'd get a flood of emails from customers, maybe angry customers, or the fear of pressing deploy to production simply because it might lead to hours of stressful recovery. Tests have been a complete change in how I approach deployments, and having tests in our infrastructure code and of course also in our web-based customer UI, which is based on Ruby on Rails, has given me so much more peace of mind. And so always start with tests, of course, then measure your test coverage and try to optimize. Don't over optimize, but I guess 80 to 90% should be a goal, I guess. And then go on to more intricate stuff like security checks and linters. Linters help to have a common coding style, for example, especially if you are working in a team. For example, in my company, we have our own Ruby gem that defines our specific RuboCop rules or cops, so that the whole team works with the same coding style. And we simply include our own specific RuboCop gem, and that pulls in RuboCop and all the dependencies and defines our own linting rules. That is really helpful. And having a security check, like for example Rails best practices or Brakeman, is definitely also adding to peace of mind from the security point of view, because they can easily tell you where you might open yourself up for a bad time. So I guess the goal should be all of the above. The minimum in my regard would be tests. Having unit tests and system tests in place that make sure that you don't get regressions. It's also very satisfying from my point of view if there is a bug, and bugs happen all the time, then adding the bug fix with another test that tests what that adds a test that would have detected the bug had it existed beforehand. That's very satisfying as well, because it simply makes sure that this thing will not happen again, at least not exactly in the way it did happen. And so your testing framework, your test suite gets better and more encompassing all the time. And yeah, as you can see, I do like peace of mind. I am still on call every other week, and knowing that deployments will not cost me any sleep is definitely something that is more than worth the time investing into having a good test suite. And as always, if I missed the mark in answering your questions, or you meant it in a different way, simply send a follow-up question and I will get to that as well. So here we have another question. What was your first Ruby or programming project that helped you improve in programming? Oof. Given that I started in 1984, that's really hard to answer. Helped you improve in programming? I would say it was simply doing my small projects, like a little bit of accounting software for my mom, that I wrote, I guess, end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, when Turbo Pascal 5.5 added object-oriented programming. Because wrapping my head around inheritance and composition and virtual methods and all that stuff really was a quantum leap. No, it was not a quantum leap. That's a strange analogy. People say it's a quantum leap, but a quantum leap is a really, really tiny thing. So no, it wasn't a quantum leap. It was a game changer because, yeah, it got me into object-oriented programming that later I continued by learning C++ and then Perl and Ruby. Yeah, I would say those projects that I did back in the day were definitely helpful. And of course, then going and writing production-grade software, both for our hosting infrastructure as well as for our customer dashboard, where things really, really, really need to work, where my monthly paycheck basically depends on our code quality. That is definitely also an incentive to level up your game. So simply having a project that gets serious usage, be it by your family or be it by a bigger customer base, that definitely helps as well. And here we have another question. Do you have any recommendations for tooling to upgrade/release new gem versions? I'm currently using GitHub Actions. Yeah, GitHub Actions is definitely a very good option. I mentioned our internal Rubocop gem. We do manage that on GitHub. It gets CI'd by GitHub Actions and gets deployed to an internal GitHub package repository where we can pull it from. Yeah, GitHub Actions make things very easy because there are just a few steps that you need to get that deployed. I started out by releasing that gem to the official Ruby Gems repository simply because I didn't know any better place. I tried to use a commercial artifact repository, but that got far too expensive for that little use case. And when I discovered, yeah, I can simply host it in a GitHub package repository with our code repository, then we switched to that and have been happy ever since. Of course, there are also alternatives, be it GitLab or Codeberg if you're doing open source software. All of them have tooling in place that make it quite easy to release a new gem. Those were great questions. Thank you for all of them. And keep them coming. We still have quite a little bit of time over, and so yeah. Sharaf asks, how is the growth in DevOps versus software engineering? I'm not completely up to date on that. I mean, software engineering is a huge space, and DevOps, even with its many, many meanings that people attach to it, to this simple term, is a much smaller space. So I would say software engineering is definitely growing larger or growing more quickly. Even though, of course, unfortunately, there have been and keep being a lot of layoffs, especially in at the more enterprise level. I think being someone who is proficient in DevOps is definitely something that people will need. There is always a need for people who know their way around systems, especially Linux systems, because the whole internet is running on Linux. Probably our kitchens soon as well, with even dishwashers and toasters having Linux built in. So it's definitely still a good idea to be proficient, but the problem is you need to be proficient, and by that I mean not only know your way around all the commands and tools, but also have practical experience. You need to do stuff, you need to keep doing things, even if it's just building a microcosm in a home lab, for example. where you do continuous integration, where you do proper processes, release engineering, all these things, that's important. And yeah, so DevOps is definitely something that I can still recommend. And Sharath goes on to ask, what do you think would be replaced first with AI? I don't see anyone getting replaced by AI because of its capabilities. So regardless if you are a good software engineer or a good DevOps person, AI will not match the things that you can do. Unfortunately, that doesn't keep managers who have no idea of what you are capable of replacing you with AI simply for financial reasons. But that's a completely different kettle of fish. And here's Praxeus using !Q, which is a good way to get your question queued as well. What is your favorite building tool? Do you default to Ruby or sometimes still use shell scripts? Depends on... and hi Praxeus, another pillar of the Monospace Mentor community, also known as the Server Room, my community of practice. If you'd like to join us and grow with us, check out the serverroom.sh. So Praxeus asks, what is your favorite building tool? Do you default to Ruby or sometimes still use shell scripts? If I want to do something very quickly and maybe just once, say some kind of database maintenance or file system maintenance, then I'll definitely use shell scripts. If it should stay for longer or it gets more complex, then I will definitely use a programming language. At the moment, I would probably default to Ruby because, yeah, that's what I do every day. Once I'm more proficient in Crystal, I might actually choose Crystal as well, because Crystal, other than Ruby, will make it very, very easy to deploy that tool in both on my workstation or even on our production services, since it compiles to a binary. Depending on what libraries are available, I might actually then go and write it in Crystal. I can also imagine, that being said, that I would first sketch it out in Ruby, and once it works properly, it should be relatively easy to simply port it to Crystal, compile a static binary, and then deploy that on our systems and workstations. So yeah, I would definitely do a quick and dirty thing in shell script, but shell script syntax has its severe limitations. For example, I've never used arrays in Bash or C Shell, simply because they are pretty unwieldy. Once I see some more sophisticated business logic coming up, I'll definitely go with a real programming language. By the way, I do these office hours every Friday if I can, so don't forget to follow the channel so you get notified when I start. You know what? I was a little bit cautious by not including links on my stream scenes, but there's so little abuse, knocking on wood here, that I think it's more valuable to have links appear on screen. Let me fix that. Somewhere there is an option that says strip links. Yep. And here we go. Don't you abuse that. Great questions. You are doing a great job as viewers. Let's see. Yeah, that worked. Links are appearing now. Nice. Of course, also hello, Hanso hi. How you doing? Welcome to Monospace Mentor. Speaking of Linux course, yeah, we're going to start with basic Linux system administration here on the streaming channels next Thursday evening, at least for me. Might be morning if you're based in San Francisco, or might be around noonish if you are on the west coast of the US. Yeah, it's going to be an introduction into Linux system administration. I'm going to give my best to introduce you to all the stuff that you need to do all the fundamentals in Linux, which might actually help you get into a space like DevOps, or maybe migrate from software engineering more to the operations side of things, or at least know your way around your own workstation if you're trying to develop on Linux. So the course is free. You can simply pop by. I would request that you sign up on the page that's linked and leave your email address, because that allows me to inform you of schedule changes and things like that. But other than that, you can simply stop by on my channel here, and we're going to go through all the basic Linux administration topics. I'm very excited to get started next week. Have been preparing for the last few days, and yeah, I'm looking forward to doing this live. It's going to be a challenge for me, teaching online while managing the whole production of a stream. But hey, I love challenges. I always get lazy and deliver worse results when I get bored. So having a challenge is definitely something that I'm up to. Heidi shared a nice tool, granted.dev. When you need to switch between AWS accounts, it creates an isolated tab for each account without having to disconnect. Thanks for that. Yeah, if there's something that you'd like to share, feel free to post it to chat. It's always great yeah, I'm a lazy bear too. It's always great to get new tools and helpful tools. Oftentimes it's just the thing that you've been looking for. So yeah, if there's something that you are excited about, an open source project that you've just been trying out and that is working nicely for you, post it to chat. And here's another question on the board. The board being mspc.sh/officehour. The question is, how would you illustrate how container networking works in Kubernetes compared to classic deployments? Any indication if Dapper is going to become the standard? That's an interesting question. I'm not exactly sure what the goal is. Why and for whom would you try and illustrate that? Because my first inclination would be simply to go and illustrate the fact that there is a virtual network. So if we do that and we visualize a Kubernetes cluster with say 3 nodes, then of course they are connected to each other with a more or less normal network, or say physical network. But The thing is that there is also the overlay network or virtual network. That allows nodes to communicate more safely, because the overlay network usually is encrypted. It's basically like a VPN between nodes that gets set up automatically, and the internet will of course access the physical network, maybe a load balancer. Well, I mean, we can also start with node ports and stuff like that. But the internal communication between services is definitely going across the overlay network. So that would be my first attempt at visualizing that. But I'm not sure if that was what you had in mind. So let me know if I missed the mark here. And your second question, any indication if Dapper is going to become the standard? At least at the moment, I don't see that. I mean, no, I don't think it's widely used enough to call it some kind of standard, and I'm not sure if how the chances are that it's going to become one. Have you played with K9s? I might have tried it out once or twice in the past, but definitely didn't spend a lot of time using it. However, since you are bringing it up, share in chat what K9s why you find K9s useful or interesting. It'll definitely be an interesting detail for the other people. And we've queued another question in chat. How much programming do you need to know in DevOps? Is it mostly just scripting required? That would be the minimum, I'd say, because since DevOps is kind of a bridge between software engineering and operations, you should have some kind of overlap with the software engineering side of things. And that means you need to have basic programming skills, which would automatically mean that you are able to script your way out of a bind. When we're talking about SRE, then I would say having solid software engineering background is essential. In that case, you really need to be able to write software yourself, using best practices, using design patterns and stuff like that. That is par for the course if you are doing serious software engineering. As I said earlier in the stream, SRE is more or less what happens when you give an operations role to a software engineer. So that is definitely something where programming is absolutely key. Hyde says, I use K9s because sometimes I found it easier to check things instead of having to type all those long commands. Of course, I have aliases, but I found it just easier. Yep. It's a little bit like other TUI-based tools, starting with something like HTOP or BTOP to get insight into your local system, or Go access if you quickly want to analyze a web server log. K9s definitely is a nice and easy way to get an overview what is happening on your Kubernetes systems. So yeah, it's definitely useful. I didn't use it that much because most of the time when I used Kubernetes in the past was using a managed Kubernetes cluster where I was mostly using the dashboard provided by the service provider. If you've just joined us, this is my office hour. I'm Jochen, the Monospace mentor. I do all kinds of DevOpsy stuff, software engineering, operations at scale. In my office hour, I answer questions from the viewers, questions about programming, about software engineering, infrastructure as code, all these things. And if you have any questions, I would ask you to post them to mspc.sh/officehour. Indrex says, the Cube network was my question. Thanks for answering. You definitely got the gist of what I was hoping to hear. Helping a team architect some monoliths and want to show how to take advantage of the overlay network and how services will call each other rather than just hitting a REST endpoint. A bit easier when starting fresh, so I'm brainstorming ways to clearly explain how their code needs to change. Thanks again for your perspective. You're very welcome. That's what I'm here for. I mean, especially the overlay network has the great characteristic that it's more or less transparent, and I'm not sure how code even would have to change other than to accommodate using that overlay network and not accidentally using the external physical network. We are still running mostly a very traditional server infrastructure for our hosting platform. And I'm really starting to miss having something like an overlay network, a private network, because that would make things much easier. For example, being able to connect services internally without always having to take care of TLS encryption and things like that. Having an automatic overlay network or a private network, a virtual private network, would make some of these things a lot easier. Unfortunately, retrofitting such a network to an infrastructure with hundreds of Linux servers isn't trivial, so that's not something that I'll do on a whim on a Thursday night. But yeah, it's definitely something that is on my wish list for next Christmas. All right, it's 3 o'clock here in Ireland, so I guess it's time to slowly wrap up. If you still have questions, post them to mspc.sh/officehour. Or post them to chat if you like, also possible. And we'll do another final round of answers. So far, this has been a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it too. You are enjoying it too. And yeah. Final round of questions. Also almost done with my hydration, so I would have to wrap things up anyway. Still going to do some work later, both on a day job project as well as on my Linux course. And if you're interested in my free Linux course that's going to start next week, enter !Linux course and you'll get all the details. Hi Das, what do you do this weekend? Any Linux parties in Ireland? There is going to be a end of 10 event soon, which is inspired by Microsoft ending the support for Windows 10, making lots of machines that will not be able to run Windows 11 pretty much useless. And so there are end of 10 events where people get together and show users of or owners of this hardware, of these laptops and things like that, how to install Linux and stuff. And the Dublin Linux community is going to do such an event, but that's not going to happen this weekend. It's going to happen sometime in October, if I recall correctly. And I might stop by and try and help personally, depending on what I can get done and how my time allows it. This weekend is a little bit more karate training on top of tonight's regular class. I'm going to a Dan preparation seminar tomorrow. I won't do my Dan grading, my black belt grading anytime soon. It'll probably take me 2 more years to get there. However, it's definitely a good idea to prepare and to acquire new skills. So that's why I'm going to do a seminar tomorrow, especially because it's right here in town, so I can walk there actually. Next weekend is going to be double that, because I'll have class on Friday, a karate seminar on Saturday, an extra bonus class by the Ireland team coach that's going to the World Cup soon on Sunday, and then Monday will be another regular class. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to walk on Tuesday, but it's definitely going to be fun. Practice says, fixing compiler errors, stupid syntax. Yeah, but you brought that upon yourself, I guess. And he asks, tea or cider? I'm not a great fan of cider, actually. Most of the ciders that I've tried taste like apple juice gone over, and I don't quite enjoy that. There is one brand called Orchard Thieves, where the cider is more sweet and more apple-y, actually. And I do enjoy that from time to time, but what I had here was simply apple juice and the regular non-alcoholic one with water. Hyde asked which kind of karate. It's Shotokan karate. And Praxeus says, self-masochism, thy name is learning. Yeah, can confirm. Yeah, I'm doing Shotokan karate. I started at age 18, right when I was finishing school. Did it for a while, then I did it on and off for a while, then I did not do it for 20 years, and last year I started again, and I'm still paying the price for letting myself go for 20 years, doing lots of stretching and trying to get my muscles to do what they are supposed to. But it's a lot of fun. I am thoroughly enjoying it. And I'm more than happy that I actually picked it up again, because speaking of picking stuff up, I realize how important it is to stretch when I realized how easy it became to pick up stuff from the floor after starting karate again. And so at my age, I'm pretty happy that I'm back doing karate, even though it's still a huge challenge, both in terms of endurance and in terms of flexibility and things. But these are all things that can still be dealt with and improved, even at my age. All right, folks, so this was my office hour. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for all your questions. Thank you for stopping by in the first place. I'm so happy. Fragberg stopping by as well. Hello. Any races planned for the weekend? Intrex says, I miss doing karate, but been struggling to prioritize life stuff, been spending so much time in tech. I can relate. I can relate. However, yeah, karate has become a fixture in my schedule. I am definitely, I do everything to not miss class and sign up for additional seminars like tomorrow. And yeah, this is has become one of the things that things have to be really, really bad in terms of schedule or life that I don't go to class. Not sure if I missed class in the last 12 months more than 5 times or so. Frogberg says, this weekend no plans, next weekend cycling 100 kilometers of hills. Should be awful. Yeah, sounds like a pain. I hope you'll enjoy. All right, folks. This has been fun. Thank you. And I will be back next week. There will be a live coding stream on Tuesday, hopefully. I'm not sure if I can keep up doing the live coding stream on Thursday afternoon, because starting next week, there's going to be the Linux course, the free Linux course here on my streaming channels on Thursday evening. And so I'm not sure if I should do a few hours of live coding stream beforehand, because that will probably deplete my energy. So there might not be a live coding stream on Thursday, but the Linux course at 6 p.m. Dublin time. And on Friday, we'll have another office hour. Maybe even answering questions for people who attended the Linux course the day before. We'll see. But first, there's the weekend. I hope you have a great rest of your Friday. I hope you're having a great weekend. I hope to see you soon. And until then, take care.